everybody, and welcome to Energetic Principles Full Moon Report for May 10th, 2017. We will be talking about what exactly is a full moon and what is the best use of energy at this time. And we'll also give you some information on how you can do a little full moon meditation to release the energy that's in the air. We'll also be talking about the aspects where we've got Mercury, Uranus, Saturn, Mars and Neptune all involved. And we'll also be talking about the North Node that has just moved into Leo as of yesterday. We'll see what the tarot has to say and a little more, I'm sure that will come out of my mouth, that I don't know about yet. So stay tuned and we'll get right to that.
And may the stars be with you.
So what is a full moon? What's the best use of energy during this time? Well, the full moon is when what we've been working on has come to a climax. So we're going to see some action based on what we've started during the new moon as it's worked its way up to this point to kind of blossom like a flower in a sense based on energy. It's not always a florally essence because sometimes full moons can be trying, but something is coming to a culmination. Full moons can also be a time of interpersonal conflict because it's an opposition where, opposition, something's got to oppose you, right? So a full moon can be a challenge from an outside source where people may be challenging you in a way that can conflict with your goals. It's also a great time for public acknowledgement because through that opposition, we're basically working with all the other people. So it's a great time to put yourself out there into the public so that you can be seen to a broader audience. And it's really just a time of culmination and release. The best time to let go of anything is during a full moon cycle, so that you can give it to the big moon in the sky and just like release it from your life and to move on because it's time to end the next cycle so that we can start anew with the new moon. So let's talk about this full moon in Scorpio, which will be exact on May 10th at 2:42 p.m. Pacific time. This full moon is gonna be an intense one. You know, Scorpio is very intense and has this penetrating power to it and likes black and white issues. So if you find yourself looking at this or that, you try to find this gray area that's in the middle because that's where your answer is gonna lie. We don't live in a black and white world. We live in a very gray world. So try to find that in-between balance at this time because Scorpio can bring up a lot of vulnerability and it can dredge up like emotional past hurts that we haven't gotten past yet because Scorpio is the water element and it's a fixed water element, which as the old saying goes, still waters run deep. So there's a lot underneath the surface that can be brought to light with this full moon. So if you're feeling a little bit irritated and you want to point the finger or blame or you're being challenged from the outside, this is the perfect time not to have sweet revenge because as sweet as it might sound, it will backfire and you don't want any part of that. So this is the perfect time to, rather than going out and conspiring against the people that may be conspiring against you, turn that energy inside and get a real insight to your own motives in the situation because it's a perfect time to getting into for self-research and to really get in touch with those past traumas that we have to release because we can release. This is a very potent releasing moon and we can forgive at this time. We can forgive ourselves and forgive others for slights that are real and maybe even perceived. So this is a great time to do a lot of inner work because Scorpio can be an energy that's a bit self-destructive. So why go down that path? Why make yourself a headache? Because after this full moon, when that emotional intensity is over, now you got another problem to deal with. So rather than be destructive, let's turn that energy into another aspect of Scorpio, which is creation and being incredibly creative. So take all that emotional juice that you're having right now and put it into some art or put it in some music or just get creative about your own life and your own ideas and where you want to go because this is a very fertile time for that. So the Sabian symbol for this degree is 21 degrees Scorpio. And just in case you don't know how Sabian degrees work, is that when we have a degree of something, say this full moon, 20, I don't quite know the minutes, but say it's 20 degrees and 22 minutes. Well, rather than it be 20 degrees, we would round up to 21 degrees. So for this full moon, we have the Sabian symbol of 21 degrees Scorpio. And that is obeying his conscience, a soldier resists orders. So what does Rudyard mean by that? He says it's a readiness to face the results of a refusal to follow the authoritarian patterns of society. And we've all been there, to where our own inner values are conflicting with what's outside of us. And do we take a stand for ourselves, or do we just basically give in to the pressure of society to be a part of something that is not our own truth? So there's a lot of inner freedom that is being struggled at this time, to where we have to prove our own self as an individual. And sometimes when we prove ourselves as an individual or go a way that's against society or a group of people or an organization or your work or what have you, whatever has authority in that situation, there might be some consequences that are paid for acting out. But that's okay, because in the end, it's going to be a better situation because you're in line with your own values and your own integrity. So sometimes it's hard to speak up against what is the norm or what is accepted, or, that authoritarian, not too many soldiers are like, "No, Commander, I will not obey." But sometimes you have to do that, because if it doesn't agree with your soul, then you have to take that stand for yourself as an individual. Because there's an independent nature that's being reinforced by the capability of looking after our own affairs at this time. So you may need to step up in that department. Okay, so I thought we'd talk about a little meditation with this full moon, because a full moon, like we were talking about before, is a perfect time to release and let go of past traumas or hurts that we might be holding on to that are no longer working for us. So it's a perfect time to just let go so that we can fully heal and transmute our energy, which Scorpio is fantastic at. If there was any better healing moon, there's a few, but this one is pretty powerful for that reason. So a good meditation I'd like to share with you, that I've done many times personally, and I promise you it's very rewarding, is to sit down at the full moon and write down on paper what it is you'd like to release. Whether it's releasing one thing or releasing a whole list of things, don't go too crazy, but it doesn't hurt, just put it down on paper. Just put it down, wrap it up. Get a cup of some sort or something that is not flammable, because we're going to light this on fire. What we're going to do is just light that little piece of paper on fire, drop it in the cup, and just let that go. Just allow that energy to transmute itself, and for you to find forgiveness for yourself and other people so that you can be healed and move on from this. Some affirmations you might want to say during the Scorpio full moon are things such as, "I let go of past hurts, betrayals, and losses." Or you can say along the lines of, "I accept my capacity to transform my own life." Because Scorpio is all about personal power, and you have the power in your hands right now to just relinquish all that past hurt and really just transform it into new, vibrant, healing energy. All right, let's talk about some of the aspects that are going to be happening during this full moon. Well, we've got Mercury conjunct Uranus in Aries, which this is going to be the third time it's conjunct Uranus in its retrograde period that we've been in for the last month or so. It's now direct, so it's making its final conjunction. And so this is a wonderful time for a lot of insights and flashes of new awareness and new ideas and new paths to travel down can come to us at this time, and it might come very quickly. So you might want to have your notebook handy so that you can get these ideas that come quite quickly to you down on paper so that you won't forget them and you can use them at another time, because they may come as quickly, they may go as quickly as they came. So take some time to get that on paper, because there's a lot of juicy insight that can happen right now. But be aware, there's also, with Aries, there's a lot of spontaneity, and with Mercury there, it's going to be spontaneous communication, especially with Mars in Gemini, that's in mutual reception, which we'll talk about in a second. But that can give you what is called the foot and mouth disease. Ooh, so watch out for what you say, because with the Scorpio full moon, a lot of stuff is being dredged up. It's very emotional. It's out for the other. It's out for itself, but also out for the other. So you might want to just be aware of the things that you say at this time, especially with that trine to Saturn, which we'll also talk about in a moment. That can make your words stick for good or bad. So just take a second before you go off on a handle, and just be aware of what you speak right now, because you're going to want to use your words for good and not for ill. So we were just talking about Uranus and Mercury conjunct in Aries. Well, they're talking to Saturn over in Sagittarius in what is known as a trine. So we have this fiery communication that is going back and forth between these planets. And we have Mercury and Saturn at 26 degrees, which is asking us to open up to our feelings so that we can make decisions about where we're going, and really get in touch with all the changes we're making in our life right now, that they're on board with our life's purpose, because the action that we're taking and all the insights that we have going on and that we're trying to make a concrete reality, we want to make sure that they are aligned with our purpose, because the energy that's out there right now is perfect at getting in touch with why you're here in life. And I'm not talking just about this full moon, but just this whole cycle in the last 6 months and through the next 6 months. There's just, with Saturn that's at the conjunct the galactic center, even though it just moved to 26, it's a very potent time for us to realize our own purpose and meaning. So we were talking about communicating with Uranus and Mercury and Aries. So once again, with those insights, get them down on paper and make them a concrete reality, because Saturn's working behind that. And Saturn can give the juice of lasting power to something. So make sure you're just communicating with yourself and others with maturity and self-respect, because what we say can now quickly manifest. So just be above board, be an adult about it, fun, and you're gonna see some growth in many areas of your life that are really leading to your own purpose and meaning. So let's talk about another aspect that's going on during this full moon, and that is Mars squaring Neptune. And I'm just going to go out and say it right away. Mars in Gemini squaring Neptune in Pisces, just don't take any risks during this full moon. This is not the time to go out and party and drink and drive and, test the limits of of your own reality, because there's a lot of foggy action going on, and what you're doing, you're not fully in control of. So don't take any risks at this time. Don't put yourself or anybody else in danger, because Mars, Mars and Pluto both rule Scorpio. So this is the ruler of this full moon. And Mars does not mess around. So do not challenge him, especially when there is a mutual reception with Aries, Mercury and Aries, which can make you want to be impulsive and want to just go out and do this or try this or think that you're invincible in some way, but you're not, and neither is that other person that you might end up hurting. So let's do everyone a favor and just don't take any risks at this time in that department. We also might be finding a little bit of a challenge to our making our dreams reality, and getting really in touch with how we can, because this is a very purposeful time. We're all really just kind of inching forward with all these insights and hunches we've had over the last several months, to where we can live our life with more purpose and fulfillment. So with that Aries Mercury conjunct Uranus, we're getting a lot of insight into how we can make those dreams reality, and what we can change about ourselves and our own identity that can help that along. So tune in this time, because where you're having that challenge, you might get a little bit of insight to get over that hump in a sense. Another thing with Mars squaring Neptune is be careful you're not out there, especially with Scorpio full moon. Be careful you're not trying to manipulate anybody else or like take actions against people that, especially verbal attacks that might be on people that are really defenseless and have nothing to do with it, and they end up being a scapegoat in a sense, or you could be a scapegoat. Just make sure that no one's taking advantage of other people at this time, because like I said earlier, it's all about going in and wrestling with your own inner conflict. So don't turn it outside, and don't try to deceive anybody, and be aware of other people trying to deceive you, because what you encounter at this time might not be above board. So just be aware of that, and on the lookout. So another interesting event that we have going on right now is that the North Node just moved into Leo as of yesterday, May 9th, 11:28 a.m. Pacific time. You know, the North Node kind of moves a little bit slowly. So every 2.5 years, it goes from one sign axis to the next, because there's the North Node and the South Node. And I will do a video that is based on this this Leo North Node movement, because it is a big deal. It affects not only you personally, but it affects the whole world and how the energy of the world is currently experienced, and where karmic growth can be, soul growth can be achieved at this time. So since we've been in Virgo for the last 2.5 years, the Virgo-Pisces axis, we've been focusing a lot on reality, and reality has actually looked pretty bleak recently, you know, and all the news that we hear, and, you know, just bitter realities. It's a bitter pill. So having it move into Leo is in a more creative, inspirational, fiery place, where we're going to be working on our own self-confidence. And you can see a lot of self-interest also develop at this time. But the arts and just self-expression in general is going to have a renaissance. So the next 2.5 years will hopefully bring us some great new music and art and beauty that we can partake in, rather than the cold, stark, harsh reality that Virgo has been. So just know that in this next 2.5 years, which once again I'll do a more detailed video based on this movement of North Node, we will have time to really start to connect with our own joy and what brings life to our own heart, and that is a wonderfully refreshing thing. Okay, everybody, let's see what the cards have to say about this full moon in Scorpio. Okay, so here we have the Nine of Swords as our focus and the Three of Cups as our grounding. So I find it very interesting that the Nine of Swords makes its way back to our full moon spread, since it was the focus of last month's full moon in the video that I did. So it might be just that this card is a little bit representative of kind of what a full moon can bring. Because the Nine of Swords is all about you know, kind of realizing your fears and kind of seeing where you're being obsessive or compulsive or paranoid in a situation, where you're worrying too much. And this card has a lot to do with those feelings and anxieties being wrapped up in you making something worse than it actually is. Like it's a nightmare of the mind in a sense. It's your own inner conflict that can keep you up at night that is really not based on anything. And so now is the time for us to really acknowledge the dark side of ourselves, especially with the full moon in Scorpio, as we've been talking about this whole time, is, you know, just to get in touch with the subconscious, this, you know, bubbling under that emotional charge, that fear that might be sitting underneath right now. Because the nicest person out there, Mother Teresa, has a dark side as well. We all have one, and it's nothing to be ashamed of. But when we get in touch with it, we can actually learn a lot about ourselves, and how that darkness might be keeping us from something, like the Three of Cups, which the Three of Cups is all about joy and sharing with others and bringing just an emotional lightness to the table, and most importantly, celebration. So where are these anxieties and worry robbing you of your own fun and your own heart's joy, is the question you have to ask at this time. You know, are you really feeling grateful enough for the people that are all around you that are willing to help and give you love and light and joy every day. Like, are you truly grateful of these people, or are you just worrying about the next thing that's along the road? So now's a great time to release that worry and feel truly grateful for all that you do have in life, and not look at the lack or the perceived lack, or worrying that there could be some down the road. You know, are you really celebrating the people that you care about, you know, because people can tend to leave our lives if we don't give them enough of our own emotional energy and acknowledge all the good that they bring to our life. So be sure to tell your people how much you really do care about them at this time. And you might want to ask yourself, are you really sharing well? Are you sharing yourself well enough with other people, or sharing with them and showing gratitude for all that they've done for you, and vice versa? Because, you know, it's all about kind of where are these anxieties and worries allowing our celebration of life to be blocked? Where is this taking the joy out of our lives, and how can we reclaim that joy back? Thank you, everybody, for tuning in. I'm so glad that you've joined us once again for our full moon forecast, and I sure hope you'll be back. If you want to learn more about readings from me, or finding more information about energetic principles, you can find me at energeticprinciples.com. You can find me at Energetic Principles on Facebook, and you guessed it, you can find me at Energetic Principles on Instagram. So I hope you have a wonderful full moon, and you get the best of whatever it is that you can get out of this fertile time for healing and transformation, and I wish you the best in your journey. So as always, may the stars be with you.